Hello, sixth graders, and again, welcome to sixth grade art. So, one of the things I first start off with during my sixth grade art class is an illuminated letter design. And with holidays coming up, I wanted to sort of push it more towards thinking about creating design for a family member that you care about. So, Mother's Day is coming up, Father's Day is coming up, things like that. Whatever family member you decide to create your card for is up to you, but you want to design the first letter of their name. So I also want to discuss some options for papers that you might have access to at your house. So this paper came out of a sketchbook, a 9 by 12 sketchbook, and just ripped it out. So in order to make sure I have good craftsmanship, just bend that part that comes apart and rip off of those little tags. Or you might have some printing paper. You can use printer paper, you can use construction paper. As long as it's close to that 9 by 12 inch or 8 by 11 inch size, that works great. If you don't have access to any of those things, then you can also use notebook paper. So same thing applies. When you have your notebook paper, you just want to cut off or trim off those little stubblies at the end. We do not want to see that for our final product. Okay, so you go with you have sketchbook paper, go with that, but I'll go with this printer paper really quick. And I know I'm kind of showing this at a weird angle. Since I've been quarantined, I don't have all of my devices I'm used to using in the classroom, but I'm going to shift it to you from time to time so you can see it at an upright angle. Okay, so the first thing we need to do to make our greeting cards, our illuminated letter card, is to make sure we have a border. And already you've looked at the previous slides where you learn a little bit about illuminated letters and the design qualities of them. So we want to elaborate and be inspired by these illuminated letters, picking the first letter of our loved one's name. So I decided to make a card for my mother. My mother's name is Anna, so I'm going to use the letter A. Now, first we want to do is we want to create a border around the perimeter of our card. In order to do that, there's several options. If you have a ruler, you can use the ruler. And I can just take the ruler. My ruler is 1 inch wide, so I can just take that ruler and go along the edge and go all the way around the perimeter. And if it's a little less than 1 inch, like if you decide to make it a little bit thinner than 1 inch, that's perfectly fine, as long as it's close to about that size. Now, let's say I don't have a ruler, then I can use my knuckle, my pointer finger. That space between my knuckles is 1 inch wide, so I can use that measurement and a straight edge. So I have another sketchbook here, and I can use that sketchbook and my knuckle. Let's see. Okay, I want to make sure it's 1 inch wide. So I'm making sure that I line that up and I use a straight edge. So whatever straight edge you have available to you, whether that be a notebook, a sketchbook, etc., is up to you. I'm going to continue to use my ruler. This is a little bit easier, but you use whatever straight edge that you have available. Okay, so once I do that, then I'm ready to go ahead and design, go ahead and plan out my letter. So like I said, I'm going to go with the person that I'm inspired to create a card for is my mother. And I also want to make sure that my card opens up on the right side. So make sure your card opens up like a traditional book or a card. All right, so I'm going to, just like the video suggested, the other teacher explained, I'm going to start off by just writing the letter A nice and large in the center. Now, you could use a straight edge for this, but for the sake of demo, I'm just going to, you could use a straight edge or your ruler. I'm just going to do it freehand. So once I have my letter, then I'm ready to make it a little bit larger. So I want to be able to go inside of my letter and create a design. So I need to make it wide. So just like the video suggests, to make it wide, I'm just going to go in and draw lines around the perimeter of the lines that I created. So nice and large. So I want to make sure I have plenty of space to draw inside. So once I do that, then I'm going to erase that line that I drew inside. Let me switch pencils. An eraser goes bad on your pencil sometimes. Must have had this pencil for a long time. Okay, so once I do that, then I'm ready to erase that line that I no longer need. And notice that I drew that initial line very lightly so that I could easily erase. So at this point, I'm just going to kind of look at my letter and see if there's anywhere that I need to touch up. Like this side, I think I'm going to bring it in just a little bit. I don't want to spend too much time erasing, but I do want to clean up my craftsmanship, meaning make it nice and neat. Okay, so once I've done that, then I am ready to decide how I'm going to start designing my letter. And for my mother, I was thinking of a theme that could best fit her. And especially because I just witnessed her do this, we just finished planting some of our flowers and things of that nature. So she is a gardener. She loves to plant flowers. She has different flowers for different seasons. And that tradition came from her father and her father's father. And they grew up on a farm and all of these things. So it's a great tradition of ours, especially to plant in particular gardenia bushes and other flowers of that nature. So I decided to print out some examples of gardenias and roses. They're out there blooming. The gardenias haven't started blooming yet, but the roses are. And so I decided to make that a theme for my mother, to represent my mother. So in addition to that, I also wanted to talk about that you can manipulate, and you don't have to stick with this design. You can make your design curvy. You could do zigzags on the edge of your design. If you wanted to, you could stick with a more geometric approach, and all your designs are very geometrical. Or you may decide to do something more organic. So for this example, I curved out the A. So if I wanted to, I could go in and just add some more curved lines to the edge and really be inspired by those Roman numeral type letters. So I could do things like that if you wanted to. It's really artist's choice how you want to design your letter, but just think about the fact that you want to be consistent with whatever theme you decide to go with. Okay, I could even make my letter three-dimensional by adding in additional lines. And this is all optional as far as how far you want to take your letter. Okay, so once I've done that, once I've decided the design of my letter itself, then I'm ready to start designing my border. So like I said, that my mother's theme, I'm decided to go with flowers, gardenias. So I'm just gonna go in and start off with curved lines and design my border space. And then from there, I start to add in additional designs. So I have my gardenias for inspiration. So I can go in and start designing where I want my different flowers to go. And so you could, there's so many different approaches you could take. to think about what you want to do and look at those student examples that I posted. So many people did different things. Like my mother is also into like knights and dragons and things like that. She loves reading books like that. And if you've noticed, there is an example of an artist that decided to go with a medieval knights theme. Maybe you go, you know, based off of if your parent likes to vacation at a particular spot. So maybe if you're either your guardian or whoever you decide to create the design for, if they love to go to the beach, they love to go to the mountains, things like that. So once I've started doing that, then I'm ready to start to branch out, and I'll probably just add about 3 flowers here. I also want to add some designs to my border as well. So just think about how you want to design your space. And don't worry about drawing tiny little things. Really fill up that space. Draw nice and large. Because we're going to go in, especially next week, we're going to go in and start coloring in a lot of this space. And I'll talk about different options you have at a later video about different options you have for filling up that space. So this one I developed a little bit more, added some designs in between that space. You don't have to worry about designing the background, just the border and the letter. The main thing I'm looking for this week is to, by the end of the week, you should have your outline done. So the outline is like all those different lines you need around the border or in the letter. That part needs to be completed and finished by the end of the week. And then I'll post another instructional video about different options of how you can color it, depending on what you have access to and how you can shade it. So it's up to you to decide how you want to do that, but we'll worry about that in a later date. Okay, so if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to email me at felicia.may@dpsnc.net. So take a look at these tutorials and go ahead and start drawing. And by the end of the week, I'm going to post an assignment where you have to take a picture of your work and post it to that assignment. So I'm checking your progress at the end of the week, and the outline will be due. All right, well, enjoy and think of a person that you would love to create your letter design for. Take care.